You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters. Well, my goodness. Not a lot of news on the CBA unless you want to look at some conflicting reports of whether or not negotiations are even continuing. Because it was reported earlier, I was starting to make a video on it when the very person that reported it from Sports Business Journal posted just a few minutes later that, oh, wait a minute, they are going to have negotiations today. Guys, this is getting wild. We also got Alexa Philippou talking about where the state of negotiations are. But Tom Friend, who is a journalist, a writer over at Sports Business Journal, said this earlier. After nearly 100 hours of face-to-face talks over the past week, the WNBA and its union is not expected to meet today. The holdup remains revenue sharing, though progress has been tangible. Well, unfortunately, over at Sports Business Journal, this article is behind a paywall, so I can't get to it. However, I did go to Google and I saw some subtitle for this, and let me just show it to you right here. You see it. Now look at this subtitle. The WNBA and WNBPA are believed to be over 4% apart on the split of revenue shares, sources told SBJ Tuesday. All right, this was in the article. Likely to pause, revenue sharing still hold up. Well, then Annie Constable came back and said the WNBA and WNBPA are meeting today for an 8th consecutive day of negotiations. What is going on here? I mean, how do you go from there's sources out there saying they will not meet at 2 hours ago to 2 hours later they are going to meet? Over 90 hours have been logged since last Tuesday when these marathon sessions began. I don't know one person that cares how long it's going to take because we all feel like, hey, this is your job to get in there and negotiate. And it's coming down to the wire. So, up right here, Alexa Philippou on ESPN talking about these negotiations.
Yeah, Malika, both sides are saying that progress is happening, even if it's a little bit slower than we would all like. And I know a lot of people probably have questions about, is the season going to happen? What does this mean about the prospects of the season happening? And I do think it's important to note that it feels like we are on track to have a WNBA season this year. The real question is just exactly how much will the schedule have to be adjusted because these negotiations are taking so long. And I actually tried to ask WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert this last night. Granted, I guess I should say it was this morning. It was at 3 a.m. Right. And it was specifically about whether or not training camp might have to be adjusted. That's supposed to start April 19th. And she actually said she wasn't sure at this point. And so there's a lot of things that are still up in the air, definitely depending on how these negotiations continue to go. But I do think it's important to note that with the level of commitment we've seen from both sides here in New York, working these 12-plus hour days for almost a week straight, there does seem to be a lot of momentum for a deal to get done and for a season to eventually be had.
Okay, so that's...
Okay, so Alexa's saying there with Malik Andrews that, you know, she thinks there's going to be a season. Now, the WNBA, and I talked about this yesterday, you officially got a perception problem. And if you got a perception problem with people like me and people that watch this channel, you certainly have a problem with the players' union. What is that problem? Looking weak. You have now set multiple deadlines and you have not followed through. And Terry Carmichael Jackson has already admitted they felt like your deadlines were arbitrary and that they don't mean anything. So what is Adam Silver? And again, when's Adam Silver going to enter the chat in here? Because I continue to believe if he comes in person, walks into that meeting, that he's going to carry a lot more weight because at the end of the day, he's Kathy Engelbert's boss. And I don't know about you guys, but if I got a problem, I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to your boss. That's the one I'm wanting to talk to because they're what, guys? The decision makers. All right? And again, all these deadlines come and go. Nothing happens. And you look weak. I understand. Maybe they think they're so close that it's like, why strike? Why lock out? Maybe both sides are looking that way. But again, your deadlines don't mean anything. They look toothless. They look harmless. Right? I also have a theory that they have decided that training camp, that you can lose some training camp. That they're just going to saw off some training camp in order to get this deal done and for there to be a full season. They can't lose one game. If they lose one game, and I contest if they lose a preseason game, people are not going to be happy because I don't know if you guys realize this, but those preseason games last year with Caitlin Clark drew huge ratings. That Brazil game was a big ratings draw for the network that it aired on. I think it was ESPN. So do you think these networks that just gave out this new shiny $2.2 billion media rights deal over the next 11 years is going to be like, oh yeah, we're good with losing a game? No, they're not going to be okay with that. They're not going to be okay with that at all. You know? So, and then, by the way, you know what happens? The league has to start funneling money back over to the network. Either that or they got to work out somewhere, somehow, some way, you can get added advertising in other games. But how do you do that if you literally lose the games? It just, from a PR perspective, will not look good if they lose a solitary second of one game. And I get it. Well, Rhodes, I mean, they could lose the season. Nobody's going to watch. Well, you're right, except for Caitlin Clark games. And those games, as we know, draw actual, real, tangible ratings. But if they lose a game, if there's a whatever, and I contend they've already lost some viewers over this. Because a lot of people are like, the hell with these players. They're being ridiculous. They're being unreasonable. I'm not going to watch this league anymore, even for Caitlin Clark. People are getting fed up. They got fed up a little bit last year, and some siphoned off when the whole injury situation was happening, and nobody knew exactly what to believe, and it was drug on for 3 months. I mean, that's so crazy. Like an hour and a half ago, 2 hours ago, it's reported they're not going to meet, and they're 4% apart on revenue share. And the next thing you know, an hour and a half, 2 hours later, they are going to meet. I don't know if cooler heads prevailed, and each side said, you know what, we better meet, or this is going to also be a PR nightmare. Yes, y'all are expected to meet till you get a deal done. That's the situation you put yourselves in. Tell me what you think. Thank God there is a game to talk about later today. 4 p.m. is the game. I'm sure Ben Daniel will have a watch party on his channel. I'll be in the chat, talking it up, cutting it up with people. And then I will, of course, do a reaction to the game. Peace. I am out. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're still subscribed. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.